Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of our preview show, our show in which we look ahead to the next Arsenal fixture. Of course, today we are looking at Arsenal playing away against Oxford United in the FA Cup. I've just finished watching, of course, Newcastle get knocked out by Sheffield Wednesday. A number of other teams have, of course, progressed, like Tottenham beating Portsmouth, rather struggling against Portsmouth. We've also seen Manchester City knock out Chelsea, and we've got some interesting games to go ahead tomorrow. Liverpool playing this evening. In fact, I think they're playing right now against Wolves, in which Cody Gakpo gets his first start. Be intriguing to see how he gets on. But for our show today, of course, we'll be focusing very much more so on our game against Oxford. To do that, as always, I'm joined by some fantastic members from our Discord server. Let's join by Josh. How you doing, mate? You good, Joel?
I'm good. How are you?
Not bad, mate. Not bad. Also joined by Dan. How are you? You good, Joel?
Yeah, I'm really good. Looking forward to a bit of FA Cup action.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to have it back. It's been literally a year because we decided to get knocked out against Nottingham Forest last season. So hopefully we can go one step further. And making his debut on the preview show, it's Nav. How you doing, Nav? You good, Joel?
How are you guys doing? Yeah, I'm fine. How are you, Tom?
Yeah, very good, mate. Very good. I believe we've met in real life.
Yeah, we have.
We have.
That's
Indeed.
where I met Alpha Dan as well.
Yes, of course. Yes, we've. I mean, it was the live show in. I keep wanting to say North London, but I think it was Northwest London.
Yeah, like near Hackney, wasn't it?
Sorry, Northeast. Yeah, Northeast London. It was that way. It was like in the middle of. I've never been into this area of London before in my life, but it was a really good show actually, and a great crowd that turned out as well. And hopefully, we'll do another live show in the summer. So looking forward to seeing plenty more of you as well. How are you feeling, Josh, about FA Cup action interrupting our Premier League title charge?
I'm nervous. I'm
Really?
very nervous. I was watching your podcast the other day, Eat, Sleep, Arsenal, Repeat, and Raj said something along the lines of it's these sorts of pitches that like to kick up an injury where they're a bit firmer.
Yeah.
And that is the last thing I want to see right now is another injury. But no, I think we'll be comfortable. I can't see us doing a Newcastle and getting slapped 2-1. I think we'll be perfectly fine and we'll win it comfortably.
But you're nervous.
Yeah, I'm nervous for injuries. That's what I'm nervous for. No injuries and I'm happy.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Dan, FA Cup action, is it a help or a hindrance when we've got our eyes solely focused on a title charge?
It's a difficult one because it's very clear we kind of want to win the league, don't we? But you can't go wrong with a nice FA Cup run, especially a game like Oxford. And the next round, if we win it, it might be another game against a League One side. You just don't know. So I think we've got to stay in the draw and see what happens.
Yeah, indeed. I think that when you think back to last year, we rotated a lot because of, I think COVID hit the team at that period and we were missing a few players because of that point. And we just wanted to rotate because we thought we'd go up against a championship side and be okay. Of course, this time around, we're playing a League One team in Oxford this season. And obviously, Nav, with that, when you're playing away from home, as Newcastle, of course, have just found out against lower league opposition, the atmosphere can be very hostile, very, very enthusiastic towards the home side, more so than it maybe usually would be. Have you got any nerves about an FA Cup upset in this one?
At the moment, I think, to be really honest, there is a little bit of nerves because if you think about it, like last year, we didn't do too well in the FA Cup, right? We got knocked out by Nottingham Forest, right? So it's like at the same time that gives you a little bit of nerves, but at the same time we need to sort of like think about also if we're looking at the FA Cup, we need to also think about right now we're in a title charge, right? So we like Dan said, we have to sort of prioritize everything, but I think we can do it. Like we've got a solid team, we've got like good morale there. Everyone feels so pumped, and I think Arteta's doing a really good job.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be about decision-making of rotation for this one that's going to be really scrutinised, I think, by all of us fans. Josh, would you rotate? Can we rotate heavily is kind of the question because we haven't got that much depth, especially in the forward line. But would you rotate heavily? I know we're going to go into lineups, but do you... Let me frame the question differently to not spoil our lineups. Do you think, and you are predicting that Arteta would be rotating heavily for this one?
Yeah, I think there might be the likes of Marquinhos. I think this could be the last performance you see him before he potentially goes off on loan. So I don't think you potentially will see him again after this game physically play until the summer. I think Arteta's probably going to look at it from a point of view who can help us get through the rest of this season, who can we rotate in, who can we bring in the moments when we need them, and who's not quite making the cut at the moment. And I think that's where he'll then look to strengthen over the rest of the window. But I'm predicting, again, slightly off topic, more than 2 signings at this point in time. I think you'll see 3 at this point.
Really? Wow. Okay. Well, maybe we'll get onto some transfer talk in a little bit, because Arteta's answers on transfers were interesting today, to say the least. Welcome to James Thomas in the chat box, sharing 2 of my names actually there, because that middle name, in fact, is James. So we've got in reverse, but welcome, James, to the crew, as always. I can already see people in the chat box welcoming you into the fold as well. Dan, one of the biggest kind of benefits of this one is, fingers crossed, Emile Smith-Rowe will be back for this. What do you think about having him back in the squad? What kind of benefits are we going to get from having him in there?
I mean, last season when he was playing, he was my favourite player. I think he's brilliant. On that left-hand side, I mean, he was keeping Martinelli out of the team. And the way he was going, he was probably our best player. And to see him coming back, I don't want him to get rushed back. So if he's not 100%, don't start him. We're quite good without him at the moment. If we need to wait 3 weeks, we'll wait 3 weeks. But once he eventually comes back and he's fully fit, I can't imagine the damage he's going to do to the teams that we play. So I'm quite excited about him coming in. And I'm curious as well whether he actually does make a start. Because I know you asked Arteta a very good question. Big shout out.
Oh, thanks, mate.
I'm hoping to get your check in the post. But
trained him well, yeah.
And I think you asked, can he play the Xhaka role? But he didn't really say yes, did he? He kind of said, well,
he does that. He does. So basically, kind of one of the things I'm trying to do, because for those, and I'm sure a lot of you will watch the press conferences, if you ask certain questions, you get certain answers. It's just what happens, you know. So if you ask, like the Sky reporter did, whose name escapes me now, she asked about whether or not there's any news on transfers, or whether or not Mudryk was there. In fact, when she asked about Mudryk, he just shook his head. He didn't even say anything. So you're going to get certain. So the idea behind it is trying to ask questions that invoke a longer answer. But he was a little bit reluctant to say yes, he can play that. He just kind of said he can play everywhere, really. But it was interesting getting the response in that way.
But he was my favourite player, so I just can't wait. Just a small shout out to Charlie Patino, who kind of got his revenge on Nottingham Forest today. So I'm quite happy about that.
Indeed, yes. Fingers crossed we see him back in an Arsenal shirt in the summer. We've activated that 2-year extension in his contract, so we don't have to worry about that until 2025. But there are contract talks going on with the player, which is obviously good. Karen in the chat says, evening, Tom, considering we don't have a deep squad, how many of the first team do you think will be starting on the team sheet? Heard your question, Mikhail, today on the press of questions. Thank you, Karen. I'm going to throw that to you, Nav. How many of the starting 11 do you think Arteta might go with?
I think about 5 or 6.
Really? You think he's going to go that strong?
5 or 6. I think, well, maybe we'll have less. But at the same time, because obviously we might have less because it's a weaker side, but at the same time, they might not want to underestimate them at the same time. But then we've got Tottenham we've got Spuds in 6 days' time, right? So we've got to really think how we want to do it. So I think it will go sort of, I would say we would go sort of 60% weak or 40% strong, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's best to put it with kind of cup half full with 40% strong than 60% weak. Yeah, absolutely. Ashwin Watkins, welcome back to the crew. I know he's been a member before, but Ashwin, thank you so much for joining up and supporting the channel. Craig, thank you for the donation. TC, my 48th favourite person in the world. I'd love to know who the other 47 are. Hope you're good, my friends. Thank you, Craig. Much appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. I think that when it comes down to rotation, we know that the 6 days between this game and Newcastle and the 6 days between this game and Spurs, I think gives us enough leeway that we aren't really thinking about resting for fitness, if you know what I mean, because we're playing once a week. There's also the question of momentum, Josh. Momentum's really important, especially right ahead of a North London derby. Do you think that's going to come into Arteta's thinking and actually think, we need to win this one and win it well so we can go into that game full of confidence rather than off the back of a draw to Newcastle and a cup upset to Oxford?
Do you mind me asking, how many subs have we got in this? Is it 3 or 5?
5. We should still have 5, yeah.
So 5. I think he massively rotates. I think we start with 2 of the first 11. Really? And I think you see the people that you want to get minutes into your I don't know, like your Saka's, your Martinelli's, probably not so Odegaard, maybe a Xhaka or something like that. I think you see them come on, and then something like ESR comes off in like the 60th minute and he puts 30 minutes into them, and that's probably about it.
Do you agree, Dan, or do you think it's going to be the other way around?
See, I think so. Like my team's kind of what I want to go for, and we'll get to that later. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Arteta make no changes. Maybe Turner for Ramsdale, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a full 11. Only because again, it's 6 days until the derby, and we haven't played as well for a few days. And I think just to get the 11 or the 10 outfield players playing together again against a team that shouldn't really cause us any problems. So it's just kind of adding more chemistry in the play. So I'm not entirely sure, but it wouldn't surprise me to see a full strength team.
Yeah, Patrick says we can't use the players that could be suspended. Now, it's worth mentioning that yellow card suspensions don't carry over. They remain within the competition, but red cards do. So if someone was to be sent off, they would be suspended for the game against Tottenham. But yellow card suspensions don't carry over. So we don't need to necessarily worry about that with Saka and Saliba, etc. And I think if someone gets a yellow card in this game, they're probably going to get pulled off pretty swiftly, just in case we have to worry about that situation. And now, before we go into the lineups, of course, we've seen teams like we already know Newcastle drop out. They haven't particularly gone so weak. We've seen Chelsea and Man City play with some rotated sides, and Chelsea have kind of suffered off of that. But I'm curious to know your thoughts around the priority that the FA Cup takes this season, because as we talked about, the Premier League is very much our focus with all of this on. If we start getting into the later rounds, is there any concerns for you that the fixture congestion gets too much? And is there any point that you go, I think, maybe going out of it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world?
Like the FA Cup is always been our cup, but at the same time, in my thoughts, it's been like over 20 years now, so that we've actually won the league, and this is the first time in ages where sort of challenging for a title, right? So what I would say is, if it gets to that point, we have to prioritize the Premier League to the FA Cup, I would say.
Is it third on your list of priorities this year, would you say? Is it behind the Europa League?
I would say so, yeah. I would say so. I would say Europa League. I would say Premier League, then Europa League, then FA Cup. But it would be amazing to see us lift the FA Cup again.
There's such fond memories of us winning this trophy. And, especially because for a lot of the younger fans as well, who never really, it's been 19 years, as you say, since we last won a title, have not been able to see, Arsenal lift the trophy other than the FA Cup. So it's that connection a lot of young fans have is in this tournament. So yeah, it'd be great to win it again. But I agree with you. I think the Europa League, because getting that European kind of trophy is something that Arsenal need to look towards trying to achieve. And of course, the Premier League speaks for itself. Let's go to the lineups. Dan, I think you're up first. Talk us through your 11, of course, for the benefits of the audio listeners, and then why you've chosen it.
So I've gone relatively strong to a point. So I've gone Matt Turner in goal. I think that's almost 100%, unless Cole Hyde gets a shout in, but I can't imagine so. I've gone for Tomiyasu because he's our other right back. I think Ben White's been brilliant this season, but he deserves a rest. I think Gabriel and Saliba will continue. I know we've got Rob Holding who could easily come in. But
is this what you want or what you're predicting?
I think this is more what I want to see.
Yeah.
I've gone for Gabriel Saliba because I think Saliba's not had much game time in terms of he had a month off pretty much at the World Cup. So just to get him and Gabriel, that partnership back. And again, I don't think they're going to have much to do on Monday, but I just think try and get them playing again a bit more. Tierney, I'm going to get to play as well. I think he's brilliant as well. He's not quite Zinchenko. I think Zinchenko, again, especially against Newcastle, I was there and you could just see what he does for the team. But I think, again, it's a game like this. Give Tierney another option. And he's quite an attacking option. And he works well with Smith Rowe, what I remember, who I've kind of got playing further up. And then I'm giving Partey a rest because you can't have him getting injured and any kind of risk. I really don't want that to happen. I've got Lokonga playing in this kind of Xhaka role, but I kind of get this from pre-season when Lokonga was doing really well there.
Mm.
But we haven't really seen that from him this season. I think that's partly because Arteta hasn't really given him the chance. And he'll get games like these and the Europa League games, but it's not really going to improve him, is it? So there needs to be a way for him to improve. And maybe that's a loan spell, whether it's this season, next season. But we don't have the depth to send him out alone, I don't think. And then Vieira, just, again, it kind of with Lokonga, he's not really been given the chance. A few games he's come in there, but like against Newcastle, it didn't look like Arteta trusted him necessarily. I mean, from my point, I would have brought Vieira on for Saka because I thought Saka was getting quite tired. I thought Vieira could have added something. But I'm quite excited to see what he can do against this Oxford team. And then Smith Rowe coming back. Again, I kind of hope he starts, but if he's not fully fit, I don't mind him coming off the bench for 10 minutes. I want him back 100% because I think he could be a big help this season. I've got Marquinhos on the right. I really like him whenever he gets the chance. He's got a good left foot as well. So good to see that. And Martinelli, I put him up front because we've only really got Nketiah at the moment. I want to give him a rest. And Arteta's been saying that Martinelli can play up front. And if he's been training up front, I kind of just want to see it happen. And I know in my head, Martinelli's always going to be a left winger. But I just kind of want to see it happen. And I can imagine if it does happen, he'll probably score a hat-trick. So, yeah.
We'll have to wait and see if he indeed does go with Martinelli up front. Josh, you've gone slightly differently. I think there's just 1-2 changes from Dan. So talk us through it and why.
So I think most of the team picks itself if you're going to completely rotate it. I think the only thing you're probably missing is a left-sided centre-back. When you look to rotate it, I wanted to play Tomiyasu there. But then I thought if you're going to do that, you've probably then got to play Cedric, who I don't even know if he's floating still around London Colney or if he's
I don't know where he is.
Fulham somewhere. I don't have a clue where he is. But yeah, pretty much like I said, Turner in goal. I thought he's played really well. Started off really, really shaky. Wasn't overwhelmed with him is probably the best word to use, and massively gained my trust in that regards. Tomiyasu back from injury. Brilliant at the beginning of last season and most of last season, to be fair. Rob Holding, Mr. Reliable. Doesn't do a lot right, doesn't do a lot wrong. Sort of 50-50 right down the middle. Gabriel, Tierney, El Nene. Again, unfortunately, this could probably be his last 6 months. I think he's then off. Lokonga, still one I'm not massively sold on. I think whenever I watch him, it's like watching something in slow-mo. I think there's a player there. I think he's somehow got to find a way to up his intensity. Vieira, Marquinhos, Nketiah, and then Smith Rowe, I think, starts. And I think he probably plays 65, 70 minutes and it'll be planned. I just don't see the purpose in doing it the other way around. If you say you're going to play him for 45 minutes, for example, and bring him on the second half, play him for the first 45, see how he gets on, and then yank him at halftime. It doesn't make a massive difference in my regards which way you play him 45 minutes, which way they're around. So yeah, I think the team very much picks itself for an FA Cup. It's not like Nottingham Forest last year where it was Championship standard where we got beat. It's League One, it's the next league down. They've been really, really poor run of form. And I think this team should comfortably 3, 4, 5, literally cricket score. It should be very comfortable.
Yeah, fingers crossed that it will be. Nav, you've gone for, I think, nearly the same team, 2 changes. So talk us through your team.
Okay, so Turner, we've all seen what he's done at the World Cup. He was phenomenal. Even like, you know, after the first game that he had, we thought he was like a little bit, the first game with us, we thought that he was a little bit like sloppy. Then after that, we started seeing like better performances from Turner. And then after the World Cup, we just saw what he's capable of. You see what I mean? And not just that, like Tomiyasu, the reason I've gone with Tomiyasu is because I think he needs to play more. Obviously, Ben White is right now our first right back, and he's like our best choice. So in this kind of a game, I would play Tomiyasu, so he has a chance to sort of stretch his legs. He has a chance to sort of basically just do what he can, and I have faith that he can do a job. I think that Tomiyasu is a really good right back. Just in terms of if I was comparing him to Ben White, I just don't think he's as good as Ben White, but he is still very good. Holding, he's not. I wouldn't say he's someone I'm quite critical of. But at the same time, I think again he can do a job. Sometimes he does make silly mistakes, which I guess everyone does make silly mistakes here and there. But I think I'm quite confident with going up against Oxford that Holding will do a job. And even he's done things like I think it was a Europa League game where he even scored the header. You remember? So he does offer in some of these games. He does offer quite a bit. Gabriel, I think again, I think he's gonna lead that back line. So he's gonna be like the rock for the whole of the back four. He's gonna be the rock. And I think that lately how he's been performing. A lot of people have been critical of him, but lately how he's been performing, he's been really good. So I think without him, we probably wouldn't be where we are right now in the league. And Tierney, I think is not the same as Zinchenko, but I wouldn't play Zinchenko in this. Tierney is a very, very good left back. I think the way he can run through the side flanks and then just cross the ball in, and him and Smith Rowe work quite well together. They have like a good connection on the pitch. So I think that Smith Rowe would be, I think Tierney would be really good for this game. And not just that, Tierney is like, he's a really good left back. It's just he can't do the inverted role as well as Zinchenko. He's picking it up slowly now. You can see him getting better and better at it. And the reason why I've chosen Partey is because I think with Partey, if you're playing Lokonga, instead of playing El Neni, like I would play Partey for 60 minutes, right? And then take him off, because that way he's fresh. You're not like overusing him, if that makes sense. You're using him for 60 minutes, but that way he can safeguard Lokonga. So say like sometimes Lokonga has like a few brain fog moments. He'll be there to sort of like not supervise him, but sort of like give him a helping hand. You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
With Vieira, I think that he's got really, really good passes. Like it's not just that he can take shots from outside the box. We've seen it where he scored he scored that goal from outside the box, and it was a banger. Not just that, there was that one in the Europa League. There was that game where Gabriel Jesus gave him an assist, and he scored that goal. So Vieira's got it in him, and I think for this kind of a game, I would play Vieira. I think I'm confident that he can do a job. With Smith Rowe, he's my 5-star person, that 5-star man that I've chosen for this game. I think obviously he's coming back from an injury, so you wouldn't want to play him like the whole 90 minutes. I would say maybe 60 to 70 minutes again. And I think he can actually, he offers so much for us. Like if you see from last season, we just need to sort of bed him in again and slowly get him back to how he was performing last season. And I think this game is like something that can bed him in. This game would be like kind of like not a practice run, but you see what I'm trying to say. Like it will help him shake everything off a little bit. And with Saka, I think with Saka, we know that the pace that he's got on the right wing, right? He can just run on the side. He'll run through defenders. I felt like for a second I was thinking about Marquinhos, but then I thought, you know what? I don't want to play Marquinhos because I feel like he's got a lot of potential, but I feel like I don't have too much faith in him, if that makes sense. So with Saka, I feel like he makes those amazing runs, great crosses. Even he gets into the box, he can score those bangers. Like we've seen it time and time again. And I think even after, like if we start with Saka, we start with some like a few strong players, we can kill the game off, and then we'll sub the strong players off so that they're rested when we play Spuds next week. You see, and Ketia, I feel like this guy I've been so critical of him, and each time he's been proving me wrong. He's been proving me wrong. Yeah, and I'm glad about that. Like, I'm really, really glad about that. I have faith that he's gonna do something. And like we've seen, even like in the Newcastle game, right? He didn't score, but he was causing them trouble. He was even Pope saved his shot, but that was a good shot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think that he will do something for us.
I'm hopeful he will, because, and to be honest, I mean, in my team, I've picked him to start as well, just up on the screen. I get Dan's excitement around Martinelli, I do, and it'd be interesting to see him play at striker. I just think it's a good chance, to play him in 3 games. Can he get, in the 4th game in a row? Can he get a third in 4? It'd be a really good opportunity for that. Get him scoring before the Spurs game. I've gone with the front 3. That's the same. Smith Rowe I've got in, but I've got him in that left 8 role with Vieira in the right 8 role. I just think that I was having a chat with Rohan, who does blogs on Twitter. You may have seen some of his kind of tactical stuff on social media before. Rohan Jivash, you can follow him there. And he was kind of theorising around Smith Rowe playing in this midfield role. And, as Dan pointed out earlier, this is why I asked Arteta in the press conference today about whether or not Smith Rowe could play that role, because he occupies a lot of the similar spaces, Xhaka, that Smith Rowe was occupying when he was in the team playing on that left flank. There's quite a lot of similarities between the heat maps, which we talked about on the Eat, Sleep, Arsenal Repeat podcast. The benefit of this, obviously, is that then when you go away to a place like Oxford and you're expected to have a lot of the possession, you've got more attacking options. And hopefully that can give us the edge in this game and get and kill it off as early as feasibly possible, is kind of the idea with this one. The rest of the team speaks for itself. Turner, Tomiyasu, Holding, Gabriel, Tierney, Elneny, Vieira, Smith Rowe, Saka, and Ketia Martinelli is the lineup. We're going to go to predictions. So, Josh, we'll start with you. Scoreline and scorers, please.
5-0. 5-0.
You got to come up with 5 scorers now.
That's what I'm literally thinking of. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say Marquinhos will get 2, even though he's not looked great against higher standards of opposition. We are talking League One, really poor form, Oxford City. I think Eddie gets 2. I'm literally doing this on the fly right now. And ESR gets the first one within 10 minutes.
Okay. I'm just looking at Oxford's recent fixtures now, seeing their form.
Bad.
They're not going to be great.
To Exeter, they beat Charlton, but everyone beats Charlton. Everyone beats Charlton. There's no one in my house who supports Charlton at all. 3-0. They lost to Ipswich. They drew Sheffield Wednesday, who of course have just knocked out Newcastle. Drawn with Accrington Stanley. Beat Exeter 4-1 in what looks like a reverse fixture, and drew with Forest Green. Beat Woking in the first round of the FA. Oh, to be fair, it was an FA Cup tie with Exeter. They got through. So, yeah, it's mixed. It's fair to say they sit currently 15th in the table. Last 5 games, I said they've only won 1, lost 2, and I'm looking at how many goals they've scored this season: 29, which is one of the higher numbers, to be fair, of the bottom 9 clubs in the league. So you can call them decent scorers of the position there are, but if we're being honest, we should be doing a job on them, really. Dan?
Before I go to predictions, something I completely forgot to mention in my squad is that I really, really wanted to see Ethan Nwaneri start, but he started today for the under-18, so I can't imagine he'll be there. But it's kind of disappointing because every time he comes on, I feel like he does really well. And if he's kind of with a squad that's got these Martinellis and Sakas, and I think he would just be part of the system, and I think he'd do really well. But I don't think we're going to see that. My prediction: I'm going to go for 4-0, Martinelli hat trick, and an Elneny screamer.
Yeah, and then he screamer. Oh, I
He
love
only scores.
He only scores screamers. So that's fair. We'll get some from the chat box before we go to Nav as well. Anthony says 4-0 Arsenal. James says 5-0 Arsenal. Smith Rowe with a goal there. 2-0 win, says Matt. Omar for a 3-0 Arsenal win. Martinelli Brace Vieira with another. Patrick says 3-1. And Peeny Ween says 5-4. Hope they're to the Arsenal, of course. Nav, scoreline and scorers, please.
Okay, I'm going to go for 5-0, right? And I think Eddie will score 2. I think I think Saka will score 1. I think ESR, Emil Smith-Rowe will score 2 as well.
Nice.
That's what I'm going to go for.
I'm loving the optimism, boys. I'm just thinking, I've just seen Newcastle lose. I've just seen Spurs struggle against Portsmouth. I'm seeing Wolves obviously now beating Liverpool.
Really, Arsenal though.
Nah.
I know. It's just, I can just see what's going to happen now. Zana says 3-0. Chris says 3-1. Steve says 4-1. Ashwin's going for a 4-0 Arsenal win. Rohit says we're going to win 7-8 on penalties. I don't think there is penalties, is there? It'll be a replay if there's a draw.
I mean, that's the last thing we want.
The fact there is even still replays in the competition is mental, along with why there's a double-legged semi-final of the League Cup as well. Very strange. John says 6-1. Eddie hat-trick, Saka, Martinelli and Vieira to get the others. Gooner Rob says 3-1. Arsenal, Saka, Smith, Rowe and Nketiah with the goals. Greg's going for a 4-1 Arsenal win. Lucas going for a 4-0. Harvey going for a 2-0. I'm going to go for a 3-0. More conservative than some of our guests this evening. I'm going to get with Smith Rowe getting back on the score sheet. Be great. Ben White coming off the bench and scoring a screamer because that's the TGT prediction, as it is every single week. And I'll go with a Rob Holding header from a corner as well to get our FA Cup campaign underway. Yeah, Lucas, indeed. Still waiting for that Ben White screamer. It is when it happens, we will have a big celebration. A big celebration when it happens. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Drop a like on the video and subscribe. Josh, thank you so much for joining me. Tell people where they can find you.
In Discord server and Twitter.
I feel like you're saying that with less enthusiasm each time now, Josh. We need to step this up. You can find
I've got to find something original. Yeah, I've got to find something original to say. I've got to think of something new, but I can't think of anything else. It literally is as simple as that. But I will start becoming more active on Twitter, and then when I do, I'll share that as well.
You'll regret it. I believe me, you'll regret it.
I already get a lot of abuse on that. I'll tell you that for a fact.
It's because what was it you said? Was it about Nketiah? Just don't trust him, and then he scored 2 in 2. Yeah.
Oh no, I get it from Chelsea fans now. I just call Todd Bowley a muppet.
Fair enough. Dan, thank you for joining me, mate. Tell people they can find you.
Cheers, thanks for having me. I don't really do Twitter every so often, but it's in the tag. But yeah, I'm on the amazing Discord server.
Oh,
just got to be a member, and there we go. Yeah, it's been great. It's been great coming on.
You joined Mike on the Gooners pod the other day as well.
Yeah, we did a really brilliant kind of FA Cup round of phrases. It was good fun. And
James as well was on, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was with James as well. And I think it's on Tuesday evening. I don't know why I'm advertising for them.
Mike's gonna love this.
He'll need to send me a check as well. But it's going to be Peter Drury and Lee Dixon and Sophie, and it's going to be a good one. And I think Jared as well.
Yeah, Jared matters. He's one of our members.
Yeah, he's stealing everyone, isn't he, Mike?
Yeah, honestly, as I say, we're the Red Bull Salzburg of podcasts here.
As I mentioned, Sophie.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
And generating talent and sending them off elsewhere. Nav, fantastic debut, mate. Well done. Sophie in the chat.
Thank you, mate.
But Nav, thank you so much for coming on. Tell people they can find you.
Appreciate that. On the Discord. You'll see me on the Discord. I'm not much on Twitter, not much on Instagram. But yeah, I'm on the Discord.
Lovely stuff. They know how to do it. Thank you so much for joining us. Sorry, Soph, that you messed the entire podcast. Or maybe you've just stayed silent for the whole thing. To be fair, I dropped into Sophie's podcast yesterday when she's having an absolute technical nightmare with Mike, which, who would expect Mike to have a technical nightmare? Obviously, that happened. But it was a very good show. Make sure you go and check out the Hybrid Squad. And also make sure you go and listen to our Eat, Sleep, Arsenal Repeat podcast, of which Sophie joins us every week with Dr. Raj and Owen, another TGT alumni, moving his way over to the Gooners pod as well. So many of them. They just pop up all over the place. Thank you so much for tuning in. Drop a like, subscribe if you're new. And as always, up the Arsenal.